Okay, so this one's gonna be tricky, so let me just start by saying this is all conceptual, okay? These are all ideas and suggestions. I'd love to hear yours in the comments. There's gonna be multiple parts. You can tell I put a lot of effort into that title card. We're gonna use it and use it and use it, okay? So, we're talking about the future. We haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen gameplay of what I'm talking about. So just, you're gonna have to give me a lot more slack than you normally do. So hear me out. So let me just answer the question. I've wasted enough of your time already. So, should we keep the boost? The answer is yes and no. I mean, okay, I'm making a whole video on it, so obviously there's more to it than that. So just sit tight, okay? So, when it comes to... I want boost to be seamlessly integrated into the open zone formula, okay? And I don't think it should be the main draw anymore. I feel like it should be integrated into narrative motivated challenges, because I really like the narrative in Sonic, but that's not to say that I don't like momentum based classic gameplay as well. I really like how classic had implied narrative, and that's a lot of narrative for games of the time. I'm getting distracted. Narrative, right? I think that boost works in the context of a speed challenge, right? But it is restrictive. But I want it to, I don't even want to like, I don't want it to be the main draw marketing-wise, but I don't want its quantity to be reduced in any way compared to something like Frontiers. But instead of it being looked at as stages, I want it to be looked at as challenges, because I do really think the stages should be the zones, the open zones, because they need a little bit more focus than kind of these... I don't have a problem with the realistic aesthetic, but I want there to be more emphasis on how you utilize Sonic's unique movement qualities in those open areas. Because you notice it a little bit in Frontiers, right? How it's a little bit like Oil and Water, where you've got the like boost gameplay that flows, that feels good when you're on the automated segments, but it clashes with the realistic environment, and so they have to have these like separate platforms. So what I'm suggesting is there's a way that instead of having them kind of forced together, you have the open zone environment. Even in Shadow Generations, we have like a mini open zone, right? And so have an environment designed for moving in that way. But I think this is where I say no to the boost, right? Because I think if you really want the player to experience the narrative and actually like take in the environment as it's changing, ideally I would like the narrative to impact the environment, and you take in things in the beautiful environment, which is a little bit different than what you do in a boost stage. But hold on, I'm getting distracted. So narratively, right, taking things in, but also allowing the player to slowly, through the narrative, learn how the movement works. But to circumvent how boring that might be, you have these like boost challenges that people are familiar with at this point. But also you can utilize what I was talking about in the last part, the accessibility of the boost formula. And I'm not trying to say that boost games can't be hard. Unleashed Eggman Land exists. I'm just saying that an easy boost level is easier than an easy Sonic Adventure level, like a momentum-based open level. That's harder for some random schmuck to play, right? It's harder for them to plug into, because the easiest boost levels are pretty linear, and you can like boost through enemies, and more or less you can get to the end with a few choices. No roast on the format. I want to utilize that aspect for the first stage, and I don't want the physics to be completely different like it is in Frontiers. But I do want the thing that's different to be you're already running, like in a lot of boost games and even Sonic Advance 2, but also you have a boost. So I'm proposing that there's this like state, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever, doesn't matter. But there's a state that Sonic gets in that requires maybe a certain amount of requirements. So maybe you can't really unlock it in the main hub, but when you do, it activates the challenges, or you can access them and then you can boost. Or you can boost for a combat, like the boost doesn't maybe really work in the main hub and it's less pronounced in there, but the main gameplay physics should be the same, because the boost linear gameplay should be slow. That's what's slowly introducing you to the more advanced things you'd be using in the open hub. And the open hub still has accessibility because you're controlling how fast you're moving, but we're talking about the accessibility to high-speed gameplay. So they can work in tandem, switching to make sure the player stays invested, feeling like they can move fast like Sonic, without it feeling too steep of a learning curve where they're never really gonna get there, and maybe they don't really even like Sonic that much to begin with, so it's not worth it for them. So I'm proposing basically Sonic Frontiers, but formatted in a way that benefits what they wanted, or what it seems like they want to do with it more. So that's why Frontiers excited me, because it has like a lot of the pieces, and I just kind of want to mosaic it into something that I think will benefit a lot of people more. We'll talk soon. Peace.